terror. One of my good friends, my big brother, Sinclair Ferguson, and I are from time to time involved in a kind of panel Q&A. And on a number of occasions when that has occurred, the question has been raised, so tell me about your church, how many people come to your church, what is the strength of your church? And almost inevitably, Sinclair says, the test of the church, in terms of its hunger for the Word of God, is in the evening service. It is in the evening service, which of course nobody likes to hear, because many people have disbanded any thought of an evening service, starting with the minister. And often because the minister's ego is unable to handle the fact that he doesn't like to preach to smaller crowds. How many of such men would be preaching today in places around our world where the only crowds to which we might ever preach are inevitably small crowds? But it is a test, isn't it? One of the indications of the hunger of North America for the Word of God is to be conveyed in the darkness of church buildings after 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. The emptiness of the car parks. The same people who are prepared to say, speak, O Lord, and plant your truth deep in my heart, apparently don't want to get too serious about it. One of the challenges that all of us face living in the 21st century is the challenge of believing that because we've been privileged to live at this point in history, we must really know how it goes. We must really understand how things should be. And the way we've now buttoned them down is presumably the way everybody who lived 100 or 200 years before us would also have buttoned them down if they'd only had us, the bright people, around to be able to tell them how the thing really works. It's a dreadful arrogance, isn't it? It's terrible. And so that's the great benefit of history. And that's why history is so important. So, for example, you read of the church in Geneva in the 16th century. And the Genevan church extended its reach and gave its guidelines for the clergy of the day. And those guidelines went in part like this. Each Sunday, there is to be a sermon at Saint-Pierre and then at Saint-Gervais, at the break of day and at the usual hour at 9 a.m. At midday, there is to be catechism. That is instruction of little children in all of the churches. At 3 o'clock, there is the second sermon. Besides, on working days, there will be a sermon at Saint-Pierre 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you wonder at the impact of the Reformation Church. What they were doing was on the kind of 6 sermons a week. What some of us are trying to do was on the kind of 1 sermon a week. There might be just a direct correlation between the impact, separated by 400 years. You say, well, this is not very nice of you to say. Why not? Why not?